Hi everyone, Dr. Victoria Scribo here speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. And as promised, I wanted to take a deeper dive into the chart of Bernie Sanders, both his numerology, his astrology, and his Kabbalah. And so I do have a couple of videos on Bernie. I know I have, I think, 2 on his astrology, 1 on his Kabbalah. And so some of this will be repeated. But I think that it's certainly worth repeating. And quite frankly, I don't remember everything I said on my other videos. A lot of this work is, while it takes a lot of sort of knowledge of the subject matter, much of it I find comes through me. It's almost as if, in a way, I've set up the whole typewriter. I am the typewriter, and then spirit hits the keys. So, or maybe I shouldn't say typewriter because I'm aging myself. Maybe I should say keyboard. Okay. Um, and of course, spirit helps me to, I work with this through spirit. So that's one of the things. Maybe I just give you a little my experience with astrology, my experience with Kabbalah. Astrology really is the study of energy patterns. We come into a lifetime and we have a certain pattern that we get to work with. Sometimes it is more challenging than others. Some lives are more difficult than others. Difficult in that we have more challenges. Those lifetimes tend to be more, we tend to make more progress in those lifetimes. And there are other lifetimes where we get to sort of sit back and relax. Everybody deserves a rest, right? um, and so there are rules to astrology. It's about understanding the different archetypes associated with the signs. Then you have the planets, and then you have the houses where things happen. And then you have the aspects, how things interrelate and interact with each other. And it's a giant onion, but you do have to have a basic knowledge of the language. So once you have the language, then it's a matter of observation and correlation. You observe what is going on in a person's life, or in many cases, the first person that you actually look at is yourself. Know thyself, right? And you correlate your experiences and such with what you see in the chart. And then as you further study, you will notice that there are energies outside of yourself, the planetary energies, and how you interact with those. And you come up with a pattern, okay, a pattern of perhaps behavior. Um, when when this planet goes over this point in a chart, it creates this kind of energy, this kind of opportunity, this kind of struggle, this kind of challenge, and that's kind of how astrology works. Now, Kabbalah, um, there's also a learning curve with it. You have to learn a language, you have to learn certain connections. But with Kabbalah, it's much more, um, in a way, spiritually interactive. The word Kabbalah means to receive. And so it's almost as if you have to become the vessel. Um, and you interact with the tree of life. Okay. And then numerology is also another way of um, figuring out energy patterns, right? And so you can take these 3 things. The way that I combine Kabbalah with astrology, with numerology, and the tarot is very much a Western occult tradition. My teacher, Linda Ward, her teacher was Faith Javane. Faith Javane's teacher was Paul Foster Case. So there's a line here. There's a line, and And that's how I utilize it. There are people who are purely Kabbalah. They do their thing. There are people who are purely astrology. They do their thing. Um, in a way, these things are like the story of the elephant, right? Um, in that there are, what is it? 3 blind men are touching an elephant. One is touching the tail, one is touching the trunk, and one is touching the side. And they all have their perspective. And yet they're all describe the elephant, but they're kind of describing their part of the elephant, right? So let's try to describe the part of this elephant. Okay, so I guess we should look at Bernie Sanders' numerology first. And I've done this before. So let's take a look. So his full name is Bernard Sanders. He was born September 8th, 1941. And with the numerology, you take the vowels, you separate them out. You take the consonants, you separate them out. The vowels are the inner feminine, the yin vibration. The consonants are the outer personality or the quiescent vibration. It's more the masculine side. When you add those two numbers up, you get something called an expression vibration. An expression vibration is how you in how you sort of impress yourself upon the world, and it also has to do with how you balance the inner and outer self. So the name is something that you come in with. It's something that you are you already have. It's already you. These are energies that you possess. Very similar to when you're looking at an astrological chart, looking at the South Node as the past and past lives, and Pluto and the karmic axis, Pluto and the nodes and the rulers of the nodes. So there are ways to sort of combine this with his astrology, and I'll show you that. I'll show you how it's connected. So the first thing we have here is we have his soul vibration, which is a 12-3. And for those of you who remember, the 12-3 is the Hanged Man, okay? And it is associated with the planet Neptune. So it is his soul, as it were, his inner self. What he needs to stay in good relationship with is he needs to stay in good relationship with cosmic consciousness, because the hangman hangs upside down and his head, he has the halo around, and there is this sense of being aware of what you can change and what you can't change, and endeavoring to change what you can, and to let the other stuff go, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? But there is this sense of direct connection to spirit. Now, if we look at Bernie's astrological chart, and let me see if I just have his chart here. Hi, I had to go look for his chart. Before we do that, this is the vibration of his soul. This is Bernie's soul vibration. Okay. All right. So associated with the planet Neptune. Great. We'll keep that in mind. Now, if we look at Bernie's chart here, let's see. I just want to. Oh, sorry about this. This is a little, a little wanky. All right. So let's see. So Neptune, we would expect Neptune perhaps to be prominent in Bernie's chart, seeing as his soul vibration is a Neptune vibration. And we can see right here, oops, right here, there's his Neptune. He has Neptune at 26 degrees, 58 minutes of Virgo, and it's conjunct his North Node in Virgo. And that's happening in the 10th house, okay? The other significant thing about that is that his South Node is in Pisces. Of course, 2243. South Node in Pisces. The ruler of the South Node in Pisces is, conjunct the North Node. So this is a soul who's done a lot of work to bring forward the energy and the lessons of the past. Okay, so we see that in his chart. Now, if we look at his, I cannot tell you how many pieces of paper I have in front of me. It's obscene. I feel bad for the trees here. Okay, if we look at his outer personality, okay, we get a 4 vibration. 4. Now, he also has an 11 in his outer personality vibration because his name Bernard, the consonants in Bernard actually add up to a 2911. So he has an 11. So he has an 11 and a 49-4 in his outer personality. So the outer personality is, this is his outer persona. And he would be seen as fair, the 11. He would also be somebody who is building something, the 4. Now, the 49-4 in the tarot is associated with the sign of Pisces, okay? And we know from his chart that we just looked at, Pisces is his south node, right? So we know that he has a powerful Pisces in his chart as the south node, and then of course the ruler of that south node is conjunct his north node. Okay, and I'm just trying to pull the card that's associated. So the 49-4 is associated with building foundations. It is a 4 vibration, so it does have to do with boundaries. This is going to end up being the last card here. I should have had these things organized. I apologize. This is the vibration, his outer personality vibration, the 49/4. On the tree of life, it is located in Yesod. Okay? He has his outer personality or his quiescent vibration in Yesod. Yesod is, the word Yesod means foundation. It is connected to the moon in astrology. Okay? And we have his soul vibration over here. Okay, there's his soul, 12-3. The 12-3, of course, we know is a major arcana card, right? And so all the major arcanas are found along the paths. So there's something about his soul that connects Mars, his ability to take action, and Mercury, his ability to think. Okay, so this is somebody who, and Gebura, which is connected by his soul and his quiescent, because we have his 11 quiescent here. So he has 2 connections directly to Gebura. Gebura is the place of instant karma. It's the place of the adjuster, somebody who sees what needs to be adjusted, what needs to be needs to be changed. Okay, so his Mars will be very powerful. His Mercury will be very important. His Sun will be very important in his chart because we have his soul making direct connections and his outer personality. So this sort of soul connection, that we have in our chart, the Sephira or Sephiroth, singular, Sephira plural, that it touches or that it's in, whatever planet is associated with that, or a card in the case, could be a sign in some cases. In his case, his soul vibration is Neptune, right? Because it's on the path of Neptune. So we can see that these are all going to be very important parts of his chart, right? So if we are to see how he fosters balance in his life, we would have to add the 49 and the 12 together. And that is the vibration that we get is a 61-7 vibration. Now, 7 as a base number vibration is about understanding self. Okay, it's very analytical. It's kind of a loner, kind of needs time alone. Okay, and he has been for most of his political career kind of a loner, not because he's not a social guy. Although they say he's not a social guy, they say he's a grumpy old man. I'm not so sure about that. Um, but he was sort of the lone man on the mountain, standing up there and talking about all the things that were not correct, not right, when the common man was being taken advantage of, saying no to wars, all this kind of stuff. So he was kind of a man alone in his perspective. Certainly in the halls of power. Certainly in the halls of power. So this card is actually the Seven of Swords. Okay, the Seven of Swords. Now this deck doesn't have the usual Seven of Swords. In the other decks, you have the guy sneaking off with all the swords, and he leaves two swords behind. Um, but there is a sense in this card of uh, underhanded stuff happening. And he is not in himself underhanded, but he certainly knows how to point it out. In the Tree of Life, this is located in a place called Netzach. Right here, this green circle. Netzach is associated with Venus. And the sign associated with the 61-7 is Aquarius. Aquarius. So he would need to sort of foster this Aquarian ideal of working for the common good, all of that sort of Aquarian stuff in his expression. Remember, it gives him balance between his inner and outer self. Both his soul and outer personality vibration are very spiritual vibrations. One is Neptune, one is Pisces. Neptune rules Pisces. A lot of Pisces here. And what does Pisces imbue? Pisces imbues a sense of connectedness. There's a video out there about his religion, like what is his religion? And his religion is when I hurt, when you hurt, I hurt. When a child hurts, I hurt. Um, it's a compassionate, um, uh, empathetic. He is a compassionate, empathetic soul. Now, um, if we look at his shadow, okay, his shadow vibration is where he is blocked, okay, where he is blocked. And he has his shadow right here. This is his shadow vibration right here. It's the 43/7 vibration. The 43/7 is the Three of Cups. It is located on the Tree of Life in Bina. Okay, in Bina. There is a tribal element to the 43/7. And there is a sense of loss or lack of understanding. 7. I feel as though this card, the 43/7 card, let me pull it out. So this is in this deck. This is this Three of Cups. Usually we see three women dancing, holding up cups, celebration. It's actually quite a positive card. This is his shadow. Could very well be um, a sense, and some shadow vibrations are very obvious, as in Donald Trump's shadow is a 1. It's a 37-1. It's the King of Cups. It's about somebody who is, in the case of Donald Trump anyway, selfish, self-centered, can't see past his nose, and refuses to look at his emotions. King of Cups, okay? And wounded through the father. Now with this, so sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's not so obvious. And the 7 as a vibration is a very personal number. It's very much about really going and looking within. And in Bina, it's looking within around your issues of emotional suffering. Emotional suffering. And I feel as though his history, his family history, and his growing up, what he was exposed to, how wounding the whole Holocaust situation was for him, having lost people in his family, although he didn't know them, um, having people in his neighborhood who had the tattoos. You know, I remember growing up in an ethnic neighborhood. I grew up in a sort of an Italian, Irish, Polish neighborhood. And you felt the angst of the group of people or the ethnicity that you might have been around. You felt it. It's there. It's sort of the stew that you're cooking in, as a kid. So I feel as though that is part of his wound. And I think that he has sought to understand that because Bina is about understanding. And the thing with the wound or the shadow vibration is that if you heal it, it becomes a light. It becomes a light. It becomes a light. It's the gift that you give to the planet. It's the gift that you give to humanity. And there's also a connection to the divine feminine here. And so I feel as though with uh, his opinion, perhaps his whole philosophy around women and the rights to their own body, and the rights of the common folk, and the need to ease the suffering of those who are suffering. I think he's actually healed his shadow. That being said, it is a deeply personal thing, and only he knows. But we also know that as we heal our shadow, we we heal we heal the rest of the world, right? It's just like you can't heal yourself and not heal everything around you. Now, what's interesting about his astrological chart is that one of the sort of archetypical ways of finding a shadow is looking at where Chiron sits in his chart. And I don't know if you can see that, but he has Chiron. I'm doing this backwards, so it's really hard to point to stuff. He has Chiron at 9 degrees of Leo, conjunct Pluto, in that ninth house. Leo is your right to self-express. Leo is your right to be sort of like the king or queen of your domain. It has to do with uh, lineage to a certain extent, right? And Pluto being the god of death right next to his Chiron, and in that ninth house of his philosophy of life, or religion, perhaps spirituality. I think that's also his journey, his healing journey through trying to understand the whole Holocaust thing, right? So we can see that. And so when you are wounded, if you are wounded in your ability to self-express, you will find yourself self-expressing. There is an astrologer, if you ever get a chance to watch any of his videos, they're very good. Rick DiClemente is he's out of Pittsburgh. And I think it's just his name on YouTube. So if you want to check him out, please do. And he was talking about careers, right? Careers. What, and in his estimation, the thing that determines a person's career is their wound, right? And so we have a great orator in Bernie Sanders because that's part of his wound. Okay. And then let's look at his path of life. What has he come in to learn? What's his life lesson? We get that vibration by adding up your day of birth. So the month, day, and the year. And when we do that with Bernie, we get a 32.5. And that's located right here in Tippereth, 32.5. Now, what's interesting about 32.5, and Tippereth is located in the heart chakra. So he's come in to learn how to love. He's come to learn how to love himself and love others. Tippereth is the place of the higher self. So he's come in to connect with his higher self. Tippereth is the place of relationships. So relationships going to be very important to him. And Tippereth is also the place of children. So children hold a very special place in his heart. The 32.5 is actually the path of life for the United States of America. Okay. So his path of life and America's path of life or life lesson is intertwined. Whenever you have a 32.5 in your numerology chart, you have a significant connection to America. If you happen to be an immigrant that comes to America and you have that 32.5 in your chart, you'll generally be very successful in America. Okay. If it's your wound, then you will, if it happens to be your own shadow, right, you will feel the pain that you feel in America. Perhaps the isolation, or the sense of trying to prove yourself, or there's many things that we could talk about when it comes to America and the pain of America, of the beginnings of America, of the development of America, the kind of things that we've gone through in America that are kind of unique because we are because it's not like we had neighbors, right? I mean Canada and Mexico, but you know what I mean, not next to us. Um, so anyway, I don't want to get in that kind of discussion. The other thing about the 32.5 is it's also the shadow of America. So America has a path and a shadow, 32.5. 32.5 is about freedom and the price of freedom and what it costs to be free. Now, people who have the 32.5, that's not their wound or shadow, understand that in order to be free, you have to be responsible. If you look at it from the aspect of numerology, you can't get to the 5 until you go through the 4. And the 4 is about building something. It's about responsibility. It's about structure. And it isn't until you can actually build the structure that you can have the freedom to sort of come and go. Because freedom without structure is just a waste of energy, quite frankly. So he's come in to, in a way, embody America. Now, let's look at his astrological chart again. And just a couple of things, and I've talked about these before, important points in his astrological chart. Okay, we have up here, we have his north node. That's what's highlighted. We have the sun. He has his sun conjunct the north node. He has Neptune here. He has Mercury here. And he has the asteroid Juno. The asteroid Juno is a relationship asteroid. Okay. It's also the asteroid associated with taking care of those who can't take care of themselves. All right. He has, of course, his south node in Pisces. And then square the nodes, he has Jupiter. He has Jupiter square the nodes. When you have Jupiter square the nodes, your life is about figuring out meaning. Okay, what's the meaning of this? What's the meaning of that? And you can have, when you have a planet square the nose, there can be a tendency to flip back and forth from the future to the past, or you can resolve it. And you resolve it through the resolution node. And for Bernie Sanders, the resolution node is his south node in Pisces in that 4th house. South node in Pisces in that 4th house can be dissolution of family, right? Because of cultural and worldly events. Neptune is one of the transpersonal planets, and so whenever you have Neptune prominent, or you have Neptune as the ruler of one of your nodes, we know that there can be a connection to those sort of larger events that happen in the world that affect you in a very personal way, because we're dealing with the nodes of the moon, and the nodes of the moon is a very personal place. Um, and he has his Jupiter in Gemini. Okay, so there's this is a very sort of intelligent quality here, but he has, and if you hear him speak or you get a chance, there's a video. I'll see if I can connect it. I'll put a link down below. It's a video on his spirituality, and you can see the way he describes what he believes and how he's come to the point where he believes what he believes. You see this in his chart. You'll see this in his chart. Okay, so numerologically, there's a couple of very exciting things that are happening with Bernie. So first of all, if we look at this right here, this is called the Divine Triangle. It says blueprint underneath. It's also called that. This is a series of 3 squares and 1 triangle. Each square is a 27-year period of time. This is the youth square, what we deal with in our youth. This is the power square. This is how we create power in our lives, how we sort of create a foundational power. What's interesting about Bernie's is at the base of his foundational power is a 1. So the foundation is him standing alone. Okay. And then we have the wisdom square right here. Okay. This is the wisdom square. And so each year, each 9 years, you sort of move on to another line. At 72, he moved on to this line here, this 5 line. And the 5 line connects with his life lesson, right? He has a 5. And let's see. Yeah, so he has a 5 on his life lesson. So this is somebody who's, is it aligns with kind of what he's come in here to learn. So we can connect it to the 5. We can connect it to America. Each year we have something called a personal year, and we get that personal year by adding our month and day. In his case, the month is the 9th and the day is the 8th. So if you add that up together, you get a 17. So you would add a 17 to the universal year. Okay. In 2018, where are we? Here we go. When he announced, okay, and he announced, was it February of 2019? This vibration goes from birthday to birthday. So this vibration for him actually started on his birthday in 2018. And so he was in a 1 vibration. So 1 is about initiating something new. Okay. Now 2019, and he is still within this vibration. He is in a 2911 vibration. So a master number, 2911. Remember Bernard, the consonants of Bernard vibrate to this, so we can connect that as well. And so I believe, let's see, January to May, this is us right now. And then here is where he will be, this will be the, oh my God, the convention. So the convention, the convention is this vibration right here. So we're in an 11 and we're in a 6. 6 is about community. 6 is about love. Okay. 2911 is a choice point. When Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, he was in a 2911 year, and Hillary Clinton was in a 45-9 year. So for her, it was an ending, and for him, it was a start. It was a decision. It was which road do I go down? and he went down the road of course, the presidency. The 2911 vibration, the word light vibrates to it. Okay. So on some level, he is bringing the light. He brought a light to the situation, as is Bernie. Okay. And then at the election, okay, 2020, he will be in a 21-3 vibration because his birthday is right before the election, actually, month and a half. And in that period of time, he will be in a 20/2 vibration. This is the world card. This is the world. The 21-3 is associated with the planet Saturn. Okay, Saturn. And it is the world card. And on the Tree of Life, let's see if I can pull the world card. I got the world on a string. I'm sitting on a rainbow. Got the string around my finger. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love. So we have the world card. So the world card is about manifestation, beginnings and endings and beginnings. Okay. On the Tree of Life, that vibration sits right here, between Yesod and Malkuth. Yesod, where he has his quiescent, his outer personality. Malkuth is the earth plane. This is foundation, and this is the earth plane. This is the birth canal. So he is given birth to something. Oh, perhaps a presidency. The 20/2 here, which is part of this, is the judgment card. It's the awakening. And so we have a possibility with Bernie Sanders to be an agent of change, an agent of awakening, and okay. Let me see if there's anything else I want to mention about this. In 2021, he will be going into a 22/4 vibration, which is a master number, a master spiritual builder. It won't happen until he is in his until after his birthday in 2021. It's a Uranus energy. So we have the opportunity, folks, to bring something new, a new way of doing things to the planet with Bernie Sanders. Okay? All right. Now, just a couple of quick things I want to do about Bernie's chart. He has, in his chart, he has almost an exact opposition between Mars and Venus. Where we have it here. Here's Mars down here. He has his moon conjunct Mars. That makes him a fighter. And he has Venus here in Libra. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see these things because I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so there's Venus in Libra. What's interesting is he has Mars in Aries, but it's retrograde. Okay, he has a retrograde Mars in his chart. When you have Mars retrograde, you come into a lifetime where you learn about considered action. Taking action impulsively will work against you. Okay, it's in a way, it's the universe's way of sort of slowing things down. Okay, and so while Mars in Aries tends to be like whack, Mars in Aries retrograde has to think about it. When you have a planet retrograde like Mars or Mercury or whatever, the polarity point of that planet it sort of points in the direction Instead of pointing outward, like Mars points outward, like, I want that cookie. Mars points outward for that cookie. But with Mars retrograde, it's like you see the cookie and you're like, that cookie, how can I get that cookie? Maybe I'll bake my own cookie. It's like it's not just right there. And so you get sort of thrown back on yourself. When a planet is sort of thrown back on itself, it's thrown back on its polarity point, the point opposite. And the opposite of Aries is Libra. And so this is somebody who doesn't take an action without thinking about how it's going to affect another person. And he just happens to have Venus sitting right there. And Venus in Aries, Venus in Libra is a very strong position for Venus, as is Mars in Aries, a very strong position for Mars. The other interesting thing about that combination is Elizabeth Warren's nodes are right on that. So there is a fateful connection between him and Liz. There's definitely a, a karmic condition to their relationship. And I do believe that if he gets in, he is going to have her take a major part, even with the kerfuffle about the women not getting the vote and all that stuff. That was just craziness on her part. And well, I understand. I think I'm not sure she wanted to do that. I think that there were people in her campaign that told her that she should do that to make him look bad, except that it's really hard to make Bernie Sanders look bad because of his record. And he's been so consistent. And so it was hard. It was painful for those of us who love both of them. Anywho, all right, so that's interesting. Now I just want to show you something. Oh, and the other thing, there's so much to talk about. Oh my God. So the other thing is that Bernie Sanders is going to have a Mars return this year because Mars is going to be in Aries this year, and Mars is going to be retrograde in Aries this year. So Bernie Sanders actually has 3 Mars. He has 3 Mars returns. He has one in, and I have these here. So let me just grab these. Okay, sorry. I had to make sure it was starting again. So we have 3 Mars returns. So this is Bernie's chart in the middle. This is his Mars return. Oops, sorry. Again, I'm backwards here. He has a Mars return. The first one occurs August 14th of 2020. The second one occurs October, 5th, I think, 2020. That one, of course, Mars is retrograde, just like his Mars is retrograde. Okay. And we can see that that's not the only thing sort of connecting on this chart. We can see that, we can see that I can't see what I'm doing. We can see that he has Neptune close to his south node. He has the planet of relationship right there. Right there. Getting close to a conjunction to his Venus, and the south node, the transiting south node, conjunct his Ceres here. Okay. Which would mean that the transiting north node is opposite his Ceres. Ceres is a sense of nurturance, taking care of, and in Sagittarius about being broad-minded and understanding of the differences that we have. Okay, so we have that, and then what was that? That was August, and then here we go again. This is the other. You can see Mars down here. We see that the south node is still on his Ceres. The north node is getting closer to his Jupiter. Where is that? Right here. Okay, and now the sun is sitting on his Vesta. What he focuses on justice and fairness. And then the last one will actually be after will be after the election in November. This happens in December. Okay. And we can see that he has, again, these are slower moving planets, so these are going to go slow. But he does have he has transiting Juno sitting on his Pallas Athene. His Pallas Athene in that first house, social justice for immigrants, all kinds of people, Sagittarius. We have Jupiter. We have the north node of the moon right on his Jupiter. Remember, Jupiter is a very powerful planet. We have Vesta up here, transiting Vesta, conjunct his sun. So these are all things that are happening with his Mars return. Now I want to show you one more chart like this, if you don't mind. And this is the election. This is the chart of the election. This is I did this for like 1 minute after 1 minute into the 3rd of November at Dick's, what is it, Dick's Notch up there in New Hampshire, the first poll to open. And this is not one, what I need to do is I need to look at it at the end, like when all the polls are closed, to see where he, what happens in his chart. But because the moon will be in a different place. But here we have, so this is his chart in the middle. We have Jupiter conjunct the transiting south node. We have Venus conjunct his Mercury and his Juno and his Vesta. So Mercury, Juno, Vesta, the things he's devoted to justice and fairness, relationships, relationship to women, perhaps, Venus on there. So he will get the woman's vote, in case anybody's wondering. And we have Mercury sitting on his Venus, his message of love. This is kind of exciting, right? And of course, Mars on his moon. And of course, we have Neptune on that south node. So this is, I think it's a good chart for him to win, actually. So, but Trump does also have a really good chart to win. So it's not a foregone conclusion. We have to do our due diligence. We have to get people out there to vote in such numbers that the way they cheat is not going to work this time. Okay, so all right, I think that's enough information. Just some really exciting things, and so take it for what it is. I know you all know that I'm a big Bernie supporter. I will do Amy Klobuchar's chart and Mike Bloomberg's chart as well for you guys to look at. Not in this detail, probably, but certainly we'll take a look at them. And so it's a very exciting, nerve-wracking time to be alive. And, bless Bernie for all his work. Bless all of you for listening to my work. And am I biased? Yes, of course I'm biased. But I think with astrology, it's a little bit easier to not be biased. Doing cards it's you're at least for me, I'm moving through my emotions with those. I'm using my feelings. I'm using what my sensibilities, and there's no such thing as far as I know, as somebody who just like I haven't been able to do it. I know there are people out there that can do it. People who have a lot of Aquarius, perhaps. I have a few clients who are very Aquarius, so if they want to, pipe in about what they think, that'd be great. All right, guys. Thanks for sitting with me all this time. Hope you enjoyed that. If you would like a reading with numerology, Kabbalah, and astrology, you could do that. There's links below for you to order that reading. It's a 90-minute reading, so we need about 90 minutes together. You can do it on Zoom or Skype or over the phone if you're old school. Although I do like to see what you look like, because you get to see what I look like all the time, for good or ill, but I don't always get to see what you look like. So I like to be able to see you. But it's up to you, whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.